Good morning everyone. So before we start today, I just want to give those of you who just logged in a heads up about what type of props we're going to be using for today's practice. And I would like everybody to have some props, but no worries if you don't have proper traditional yoga blocks and straps. There's a bunch of things that we can use around the house that'll be helpful. So ideally 2 yoga blocks, but if you don't have 2 yoga blocks, then go ahead, scurry around the house and find yourself a good tall stack of textbooks. We want enough to lift us up at least 24 inches off of the floor. Of course, you may not need that many books, but just having them at the top of your mat will be helpful for when the time comes. Additionally, I'd like everybody to have a strap, whether that means a necktie, a belt, whatever you can find that will allow you to make a complete loop about the width of your hips. And then finally, we're going to be starting out this morning with our traditional moon salutations. So that will involve some kneeling lunges. I know a bunch of you are probably practicing on a yoga mat on top of carpet, so you may not need any extra cushioning. But if you're on a hardwood floor like we are here, then by all means go ahead and get yourself a blanket and just go ahead and set it up just behind the halfway point of your mat. So today is going to be a little bit more of a moon-focused style practice. We are going to be doing some back bending to strengthen the erector muscles of the spine, all those muscles that help us to maintain a nice upright posture. Apparently Piet doesn't agree with that. So of course, with any type of back bending flow, we're going to be using the back muscles essentially to bring us into the majority of these postures. But if we're only focusing on the muscles of the back, this tends to create a lot of straining. So as well as activating the muscles of the back, I'm going to try to remind you again and again to find some lift through the abdominal wall too. So that whenever we're rising into a back bend, we're using the front and back body simultaneously to create that lifting action, which will in general feel more comfortable, and certainly the following day you'll be a lot happier about your practice. For those of you that just logged in, if you don't have blocks and a belt, go and grab them real quick. If you don't have blocks at home, go ahead and grab a bunch of textbooks or any books that you've got hanging around. That'll stack up about 24 inches or so. Now, we'll all begin at the top of our mats. So Amber here is going to start out in mountain pose. So, mountain pose, probably the most neglected and one of the most important postures we practice on a regular basis. Okay, this is essentially the groundwork for a neutral, healthy spine. And by learning the fundamentals and reminding yourself to come back into them over and over and over again, it's going to help your body to really memorize the structure of that posture. This is the way we start to really find ourselves in good alignment outside of our practice whenever we're off the mat. So now that our little feline friend has stopped mewing, the arms falling by your sides, allow the weight to shift into the fronts of your heels. And then effectively from that contact point at the fronts of your heels, we essentially want to just stack the framework of our skeleton. So by pushing your thigh bones back, it'll help to bring the hip socket directly over that contact point. Okay, a little lift of the knees and thighs will help to perpetuate that backward movement of the hips. The shoulder blades drawing together behind you and the arm bones reaching down actively into the earth help us to get more anchored. Now remember your neutral pelvis. Lower abdominals are lifting it up gently. The sacrum at the back of the hips descending, but we don't want any pressure in the low back, so be careful you're not clenching the hip muscles. Now as you inhale, imagine that you could fill from the floor of your pelvis and let that breath climb up the torso so it makes you get a little taller. When you exhale, stay tall, but as the breath sinks back down, plant yourself into your base. From your base, we inhale, get a little taller, the crown of the head is lifting. Exhale, the breath descends, hips ground to earth. One more breath cycle in mountain pose. Face is relaxed, eyes are still. And on your next inhalation, we'll begin lifting the arms straight up overhead, lifting your gaze toward your thumbs, hinging at your waist, fold all the way down, and of course, bend your knees however much you need to place your thumbs on the floor. Long breath to lift halfway. Really fill the spaces between, and then step your right leg to the back of your mat and drop your knee. Pointing the toes away, we'll do stage 1 first. So just take your hands to your thigh, lifting with an inhalation, draw the tummy away from the leg, hands down as you step back into your flow. Now, traditionally, moon salutations are a modified flow, so knees, chest, chin. Hips on the floor for cobra, inhale. and then rolling over your toes to downward facing dog on your exhale. Now, stretching the right leg back up into the sky. Inhale, pull the hips away. Step between your hands, drop your back leg. So modified for the first round, hands to knee. Inhale, move the tummy into the body. Hands to the mat as you step forward, head to legs, hips to sky. Rising with the inhalation, find a little bit of a back bend. So the lower belly pushes to the spine, arms by your sides. Left now. Inhale, rise up. Folding forward, head to legs. Keep your toes soft, and then halfway up, lengthen. Step your left leg back to kneel. When the knee hits the mat, hands to thigh, or now, inhale, lift your arms up overhead. Hands down as you step back into your flow. Knees, chest, chin, or if you prefer, chaturanga, cobra, or upward dog. And then back you go to downward facing dog. Inhalation lifts the left leg into the sky, pulling the hips away, step up. Back knee to the floor, point your toes away, and then hands to thigh, or inhale, monkey pose. Hands to the mat, we're going up to our forward fold, head to knees. Rising all the way up into the sky. Arms by your sides, face relaxed. Keep it flowing. Inhale, lift. Uttanasana, stretching the back body. Halfway up, draw your heart away from your hips, right leg steps, knee down. Reach back through your big toe as you lift your arms overhead, and then hands down, step back into your flow, keeping the elbows nice and close, upper back strong. Cobra or up dog, what feels best for you? Downward facing. So right leg reaching into the heavens with the inhale, step up, drop your back knee. Rising up, keep the roof of your mouth relaxed, and then hands to the earth as you stand in your forward fold. Inhale, all the way up we go, arms stretched to sky, maybe a little back bend at the peak, arms back by your sides. Left now. Inhale, rising. Exhale, folding. Find space as you fill with the inhale, left leg back to the mat. Hugging the inner thighs together, pull them up into the hips as the arms rise. Hands down as you step into your flow, knees, chest, chin, or of course, straight as a board. Let your head be the last to lift. Your heart leads you into your back bend, and then over your toes for downward dog. Left side, lifting the leg high, step. Get planted, reaching through the big toe of the right foot as the arms stretch overhead. Hands down, forward fold. All the way up we go on our inhalation, stretching into the heavens. Arms back by your sides. One more cycle on both sides. Inhale, rise. Exhale, fold. Halfway lift, long spine. Right leg back. Hip bone to hip bone. The lower belly pushes toward the spine. Hands to earth. Elbows nice and close. Literally shave your rib cage as you descend. Fill yourself up so the tops of the lungs expand to their maximum extent, and then from downward dog, we use the next inhale to lift the right leg. Step between your hands. Back knee down, soft smile as you rise. Hands to earth for your forward fold. Good. Keep those toes soft as you ascend, lifting into the heavens. Arms back by your sides. Last half of the cycle. Inhale, rise. Folding down, look toward your belly button. Halfway up, crown reaches forward, left leg back to kneel. Anjaneyasana, stay connected to your foundation. Hands to earth as you descend, index finger knuckles planting. Slow breath, fill yourself fully, hips high. So last time, left leg inhale, step it up. Back knee to the mat as you rise, filling with your breath. Hands to the earth, tuck the back toes to step up, fold your way down. Inhale, up into the heavens we go. Equal standing, pausing here in mountain. Find that center point at the fronts of the heels. Thigh bones shifting away. Notice your breath. Now, taking your hands to your waist, hop your feet open the width of your hips. Bend your knees a little as you fold forward, catching a hold of opposite elbows to make a window frame with your forearms. Drop your forehead to the wrists And then breathe down the sides of the body. So every single exhalation from your hips to your armpits, feel yourself soften and lengthen. The crown dropping into the earth and the weight rocking just a little further forward whilst keeping your toes soft. 2 more exhales. Relax your jaw, relax your eyes, and try to melt just a little bit more. Drop your arms. Bend your knees deeply, head heavy. Hollow out your lower belly and start to round your spine up 1 vertebra at a time. Just a little momentary back bend, hands to the sacrum, push the thighs back as you lift your heart, and releasing, equal standing. Okay, we'll take a flow to downward facing dog. Inhale, lift the arms up high, folding all the way down, head to knees. Lengthen yourself out. You can step straight back or go through your favorite flow, modifying with knees, chest, chin, or straight as a board and lifting to up dog over your 10 toes for downward facing. We'll start to warm up the hips a little. So drawing the right leg well up into the sky. Keep your hips square, the legs straight. Pull back for 1 additional inhalation and then step between your hands for warrior 1. Sink your back heel down at about 60 degrees, but let's take our hands to our waist and rise on up. So as we inhale, we're going to straighten the right leg, lifting the hips away from our stretch, and then turn the pelvis forward, rotating with the left side of your waist. On your exhale, sink down into your lunge, bend, and notice the resistance in your hips. So twice more. As you inhale, lift away from the stretch. As you exhale, sink in a little deeper, weight equal through the feet. Inhale, back away slightly. Exhale, sinking into that lunge. Now this time to stay. Keep the eyes softly focused in the distance. And for an inhale, stretch the arms overhead. But today we're going to interlace the first 3 fingers so we get a little more control over the shoulders. Gripping the outer edges of the palms, let the scapula soften away from the ears. 1 more inhale here, tall, lifting out of the front body. Take your arms behind you, interlace your fingers. Unplugging your left heel as we shift into a lunging posture, begin to wiggle your left foot back further and further away until we have that long lunging stance. Heel stacking directly atop the toes. And reaching forward through your right knee, but just as much push back through your left heel. So your legs are really energetic. They're reaching out of the core of your hips forward and back. Keep your face relaxed for 3. Maybe sink a little deeper into that lunge for 2. Inhale, heart rises. And then with your exhalation, place your hands on the floor. Dropping your left knee down to the mat, pull your hips away with an inhale for half splits. And then melt right down into those hamstrings, into those calf muscles. So just gently turn the inner thigh toward the floor as the right foot pushes forward. Now this can be one of those postures where we really get a lot of sensation right out of the gates. And we have to be thoughtful when this happens, because if it's too much, your mind's inclination to panic and bail is going to overwhelm your ability to soften and smile through the pose. So work at an intelligent edge, as we're going to be here for 3 more breaths. So melting, softening with each exhale as you allow the hamstrings and the calf muscles to release. Last time, really melt in. And then take yourself through a vinyasa, rocking forward. Step the right foot back to meet the left. Either lift those hips up high or lower with control. Cobra or up dog. Saturate the lungs with your inhale. Downward facing. So feet are approximately the width of your hips. Standing down strongly through your hands. Let's take the left leg into the sky for those 2 breaths. Squaring hips as we pull away. In order to feel a stretch on the right side, last inhale, step up. Drop your back heel down as you take your hands to your waist, lifting into that partial warrior 1. And remember, whenever we have our hands on our hips, this can help us with that alignment. Thumbs push the glutes down, index fingers rock the front of the pelvis in. Straighten your left leg, stand through the inner margin of that foot, and then exhale as you sink, explore the resistance in your hips. 2 more times. Inhale, left leg straightens. Keep your face relaxed, sinking on the exhale. What does it feel like? 1 more time. Lifting. And then with all those sensations in your awareness, settle into your perfect edge. Arms extending overhead, interlacing the first 3 fingers to soften your neck, your shoulders, and to breathe space, not just into the upper body, but with Warrior One, really try to extend the inhalations from the low back upwards. Unlock the movement of your diaphragm. Last inhale. Moving to crescent, take your arms behind you, interlace your fingers, and then disengage your right heel, lifting it off of the floor as it wiggles a little further away. Lunging well into the left knee, but as much as your left knee goes forward, right heel is pushing back. Quality breath. Try to really feel the inhalation lifting out of your hips, so it's always encouraging you to draw the heart higher into the space. Last 3, maybe drawing the wrists off of the hips a little. Breathe into the shoulders, breathe into the chest. Last inhale, and then hands down to the mat, drop your back knee. Pulling the hips away for half splits, find that comfortable discomfort as you melt into the left side. Okay, saturating hamstrings and calf muscles, pouring your breath fully down that limb. The more you can visualize what you're feeling, the better. Just 2 more exhalations. Heart falling, left hip pulling back, and then we'll take it through our vinyasa. Rock forwards, the left foot steps back to meet the right, lowering into your flow or piking your hips up into the sky. Okay, taking pause for a moment in our downward facing dog. And now for our next sequence, we're going to be utilizing our blocks or our books. So if they are not at the top of your mat, go ahead and shift them there. Once that's done, lifting the right leg up into the sky. This time, let's bend the knee, roll the hip open. Let the heel drop toward your left hip. As you take one more inhale to stretch up a bit higher, step that foot forward. Warrior One, just for a brief moment, lift your arms into the sky above. Exhale, arms back beside you, stepping off into a partial Warrior Three, pausing at about a 45-degree angle. So really engage your left leg, stretching back through the toes, and then looking down, you're welcome to begin hinging forward slightly to whatever degree feels appropriate for you today. Okay, with the arms at your sides, palms face the earth. This way it'll make it easier for your shoulder blades to squeeze against your spine. Okay, listen to your breath. And we're going to aim for that point where we really start to feel the outer right hip heating up. So let's say 2 more breath cycles. Left leg is lifting as right leg stands strongly. Keep your eyes on those blocks beneath you, and with an exhale, placing your hands upon them as you begin to fold forward. So if your hamstrings are really restrictive, of course you can bend the knee or use more blocks. If the hips are open, you're welcome to start peeling some of those books away, moving the blocks out, and eventually bringing your fingertips to the earth. Now, regardless of what position you find yourself in, looking at the right knee, try to take 99% of the weight into your foot and only 1% in your hands. Breathing all the way down to your right heel for 3. Relax your face for 2. This is our last exhale. Halfway lift. We're moving into a spinal twist. Bend your back leg, slide it down the outside of your standing leg until you come all the way down to sit in our spinal twist. Ardha Matsyendrasana. Right leg over top. Right leg over top. There you go. Left elbow hooking round as the right hand lands behind. You get tall with your inhale. And then exhale, begin to turn through your belly. So we warm the hip up a lot in Warrior 3. Started the stretching and lengthening of the outer tissue in our standing splits. And now, as we use the left arm to pull the knee across the center line, and we shift the right hip down and forward, we're really going to round everything out. Okay, obtaining that final amount of stretch and release. 3 more breaths. Really amp up those inhalations. Fill out your kidneys and your side body. Last exhalation. And then returning to center with your inhale, go ahead, cross over the shins, step back into your flow. All right, check back in downward dog, noticing the difference between your right hip and your left. Maybe it's a little easier to breathe into that side of the waist now. And then, of course, to balance everything out, left side lifting. Bend the knee, roll the hip open, drop the heel toward your right hip as we give ourselves one additional breath in. Step up between your hands, dropping the back heel down. Once the back heel is planted, inhale, arms lifting up into the sky overhead. Warrior one.
Oh, sorry.
Exhale, arms by your side, step off into warrior three. Sorry, we had a little bit of feedback there. Eyes gazing toward your blocks directly beneath you as the right leg grows straighter and stronger. You're reaching through the toes as the crown of your head extends forward, but that standing leg is primary. Push squarely through the foot and feel the muscles of the leg rising back up into your hips, which is going to create some space in the right hip socket. That's right where we get to the point where we don't want to be in the pose any longer, that we start to make that forward progress. Last 3. Smile at yourself when things start to get real uncomfortable. 2. And then hands to blocks, moving into our standing splits. Of course, if you don't need the blocks or the books beneath you, you're welcome to bring down to the floor as you drop more deeply into that forward fold. The eyes gaze toward the left knee as your right leg lifts up into the sky. Be patient. Those hamstring muscles, the outer hip muscles are very restrictive, and most of what we do on a regular basis will tighten and constrict these tissues. So smile as the breath cascades down. 2 more out breaths, softening and changing. Lifting halfway, bend your right knee, slide it down the outside of your left leg as you come to sit in your spinal twist. So of course you can always stretch the lower leg out before you as you need to widen your foundation. So right elbow hooks around the knee as the left hand lands behind you. Lift yourself up fully from the crown and then turn your belly, your ribs, and then finally your gaze to the back wall. So strong action through the right arm now, pulling the leg across the center line, moving the left hip down and forward. Keep the features of your face relaxed. One more exhalation. And then go through your vinyasa. Crossing over the shins, plant your palms, step or hop your way back as you lower. Good upward facing, full breath in. Downward facing over your 10 toes. Okay, noticing the hips once more. Do they feel a little more symmetrical? Can you breathe into both of the hip sockets equally? Stretch back through your waist, one more out breath, and then at the end of it, look forward, bend your knees, step or hop to the top of the mat, lengthening your spine out, bow down, head to legs. Okay, ride the inhalation all the way up into the sky. Exhaling, releasing your arms by your sides, open your feet the width of your hips. So taking your hands to your sacrum, they should be just a little bit beneath your waistband. Okay, in order to keep the low back protected here, not only do we have to use the strength of the abdomen, as I mentioned at the beginning of class, but in order to initiate that lift of the tummy, we'll energize the legs. So pushing your thigh bones back, lift your knees and your lower belly. Doesn't have to be a huge back bend. First time, inhale, eyes up to the ceiling, lifting your heart. So keep pushing your leg bones back as you rise, uprooting your spine from the hips. Focus more on trying to press your sternum to the ceiling than you do looking to the wall behind you. 2 more exhales. So stay until the absolute end of your exhalation, and then your inhale lifts you to tall, eyes forward. Exhale, fold all the way down, bend your knees, drop your arms and head, dangle for a moment. Take a deep breath into the small of your back. Now, grabbing ankles or big toes, Padangusthasana. Push through your feet, especially the big toe mounds if you've got that toe grip. Exhale, elbows wide, begin to fold forward as you look toward your knees. So visualize your leg bones are widening away from center. So your left thigh bone moves to the right side of your mat, left thigh bone to the left side of your mat. In order to get this feeling, to really isolate it, push your inner thighs wide apart, spreading them away from center. 2 more exhales. Bend your knees, rounded spine. Up we go, vertebra by vertebra. Okay, stage 1, taking your hands back to your sacrum, thigh bones strong and supported. Stage 2, more active back bend. You're going to bring your legs together, hugging the inner thighs into one, and extend the arms up overhead. So thigh bones push back as you lift the lower belly. Inhale, eyes up, heart open. Exhale, begin walking your gaze along the ceiling and back. Okay, if the arms are extending overhead, try to soften your armpits so the arm bones fall heavily for 3. Engaging the belly. If the arms are overhead, you're probably going to feel it shaking. That's good. 2. Inhale only, lifts you up to center. Drop your arms by your sides. Inhale, circle up. Folding forward, exhale, bend your knees as much as you need to. So we'll reset our blocks. So bringing them up before you, you probably only need half as many, either one block at a medium setting or tall. So open your feet the width of your hips. Now we're going to take our right hand to our blocks or books, and then bending both knees. Reach your left hand back behind you. Bend your right leg and catch a hold of the ankle. This foot. Grab the ankle. There you go. So you can stay with both knees bent in this position, or with an exhalation, begin kicking your right foot up into the sky, stretching the toes high as if in bow posture. Okay, keep your eyes on the earth directly beneath you and a little bit of lift through the belly button, pressing the navel to the spine as you get that good stretch not only on your left hip, but the front of the right now as well. For 3, trying to lift the toes of the right foot higher. For 2, and 1. Releasing that foot to the floor, take your hands to the earth, melt forward passively. Halfway lengthen, inhale. A little bit deeper, exhale, fold. Okay, if your feet are not hip width, bring them back into that position. Shifting the weight into your right foot, left hand reaches for the blocks. Bend both of your knees. Reach your right hand behind you and grab for your left ankle. Now you can stay here with the bind of the foot. Begin lifting the heel up toward hip height, or with an exhalation, kick that left leg up into the sky to add on the stretch through the hip flexors. But tummy is alive. Okay, that lifting from hip bone to hip bone through your lower belly, just beneath your navel, that's what's going to keep the back stable. Last 3, smiling as you breathe wherever you are. 2, and release. Feet hip width, hands to the mat, lengthen your spine, and then melt down. Bend your knees, hollow your belly, round up, vertebra by vertebra, one at a time. At the peak, sweep those hands around to your sacrum, anchor down through your tail, inhale, a little back bend, and releasing. Equal standing pose, feet together, arms by your sides. We'll take it through our vinyasa. Inhale, lift the arms overhead, look high, folding all the way down, head to knees. Lengthen your spine halfway. Step or hop your way back, lower with control. Cobra or upward facing, inhale. Rolling over your toes, downward facing, exhale. Okay, simple step transition. Place your right foot up between your hands in a lunge, and then swing around to the left side of your mat until your feet are parallel and your hands beneath your shoulders. Yeah, a little love for those inner hamstrings. Lengthen your spine out fully. And then exhale, begin to fold as you drop your palms flat upon the mat. So in this pose, try to imagine that your thighs are turning towards center, and then your inner thighs are lifting up toward the heavens. As you feel that internal twist and lift, push your feet down. Soften your toes, and by pushing through the feet, the hips are encouraged to lift a little higher. One more exhalation. Walk the hands through just a little bit more. And then lifting halfway. Shorten your stance by 2 full steps, bringing both feet in closer, and then swing your way around to the top of the mat, squaring your hips up. So as the right foot points forward, look at your back foot. Go ahead and take the left foot out 1 step to the left, so your 2 heels are either right in line or there's a little space between them. So turn your belly button over your right thigh as you lengthen your spine out. You're welcome to place your hands on your shins or fingertips to the earth as you melt forward. Okay, really let gravity do a lot of the work for you now. Okay, stand through your feet, but then the upper body just melts and softens out of the waist. Although you are passively melting with the force of gravity, you should still be consciously breathing through that right hip. Equal breath. Last exhale, fold in just a bit deeper. Inhaling, lengthening halfway up, moving into revolved triangle. Place your hand, left hand that is, on your block or books. Right hand grabs the waist. Now do your best to draw the front of your chest away from your waistband and then begin to turn your belly. The eyes lifting toward the ceiling above. And if you can easily see the ceiling, then you're welcome to lift your right arm up into the sky, adding that little bit of extra expression through the opening of the chest. But planting yourself well through both feet as you breathe into your low back. Okay, it's easy to breathe into the belly, yes, but we're not going to gain all the benefit of the posture unless we really try to unlock the back body. Last exhale, finish off your twist, and as you inhale, place your hands back down to the floor. If you've got a block with you, you might as well bring it along as we swing round to the back of the mat. So setting up first the forward fold, Parsvottanasana. Left hip pulls away as you square the pelvis off. Gazing toward the left knee, begin to melt down, letting your torso fall. The bones of your feet stand into the earth. The muscles of your legs gently draw upwards. No clenching, no teeth gritting, just comfortable muscular ascent. Last exhale. And then shifting the block beneath your right hand, grab the left waist, lengthening, and then find the twist through your belly. Tummy turns, rib cage, and then eventually, possibly, left arm lifting into the sky. If you're not comfortably looking at the ceiling, don't even worry about that arm. It's not essential. Much, much more important is breathing into the low back, as I already mentioned. So use the expression of your inhale to create space. Last 3. Last exhale. And then releasing down, get your block out of the way, swing round to center. This time grab your ankles or your big toes. Long breath lifts us halfway. Exhale, fold down. So find a comfortable release, whether it's passive or active. 3 breath cycles. Inhale to toes, exhaling hips to sky. Inhale through the spaces between the spine, lengthening. Exhale, crown drops. Last one. Once you finish that exhalation, hands beneath shoulders, lift halfway. Swing your hands around to the top of the mat and then go through your vinyasa or just lift your hips up into heaven. Excellent. So coming up to the top of the mat. Look forward, step or lightly hop, extend your spine partway up, forward folding head to knees. Okay, let's ride the inhale up into the sky, lift your arms high, equal standing, arms by your sides. So Natarajasana, dancer's posture. So a nice modification for this particular pose is you can always use a wall for added support, helping you to get stable as you explore kicking back, or a chair or a stool out before you if your balance is a little unsteady today. Okay, if you don't need those additional props, then there's a number of modifications that will build us into the final form of the pose. So we'll start off standing into the left leg. Now as we reach back to grab a hold of the foot, we're going to rotate the right arm outwardly so your palm faces the right wall. Bend your knee, reach back and grab the instep, the inner margin of your foot. Okay, eyes gazing forward, left arm stretching into the sky, and you're already in dancer's pose. Stay put, or with an exhale, kick. Pushing through the right leg. But as you start to energize that leg, we start to find there's this wobbliness to the posture. So as much as the right leg kicks, the left leg stands down into the floor. So both sides of your body from your hips down are working with the same amount of effort. And this will help to ground you in the center of the pose. Keep the eyes still and try to find just a little more space for 3. Relax your jaw and your eyes for 2. And then with an inhale, lift yourself back up to center, nice and slow, releasing everything, arms by your sides. Take a breath. And then changing over, stand into the right side as your left arm reaches back. Grab the instep of the foot, that's the inner margin. Bring your knees back together close, right arm into the sky. So there we go, stage 1. Stay put, or with an exhale now, start to kick. So feel the toes of your left foot opening and rising. It's amazing what will happen to the structure of a posture when we bring more consciousness into something small like the fingers or the toes. Relaxing the roof of your mouth as you lift higher for 3. Smiling whenever you fall out of postures. Remember, it's just yoga for 2. And then inhale, draw up to center. Exhaling, arms by your sides. Just one last standing posture. Anchoring down into your left side, turn your right knee out. You can place the foot on the ankle, the calf, or the inner thigh as we then draw hands to heart center. So we're going to keep our hands at heart center today. We just did a very active pose, so now we're actually going to use tree to kind of slow down a bit. Pressing through your 2 legs equally. Bring some space into the armpits as your heart lifts, and then smooth out your breath. Okay, don't try to hold yourself perfectly still. In order to maintain balance, muscles engage and release, antagonists contract and then loosen. So let yourself sway. And then with an inhale, bringing right knee back to center. Exhale, stand into that foot. Shift the weight to your right side. Again, finding ankle, calf, or inner thigh. Mind, I did not say your knee. We do not want to be pushing into the knee sideways. It's not the direction it's supposed to bend. Hands back to heart center. Press into your palms and lift up the heart. Open up the armpits. And breathe fully. And that complete yogic breath. Inhalations lift us. Exhalations anchor us. And last exhale. Inhale, left knee centers. Exhaling, planting through the feet, drop the arms, and then circle up. Gaze high, fold all the way down, vinyasa. Long spine. Step or hop your way back, lower with control, elbows close. Upward dog or cobra. Rolling over your 10 toes, downward facing dog. Let's all come on down to our backs. So look between your hands, step or lightly hop to sit, and then rolling down onto your spine, bring your knees in close, and give yourself a hug. A little bit of core work, stabilizing the back body and helping to complement all these back bends that we're doing. Now for today, we'll be lifting our legs up into the sky overhead, and we're going to want to assess if we have a full range of movement for our arms. So just for a moment, lift your arms overhead and then do a big circle sweep and make sure you're not going to hit anything. Good. Crossing right ankle over left ankle. Okay, radiate through your inner thighs toward the ceiling. Stretch the arms up overhead, fully extending through your fingertips with an inhale. Exhale, circle sweep your arms as you lift your head and shoulders off of the floor. Inhale, arms up toward the ceiling and overhead as you lay down. Exhale, circle, sweep, and lift. Good. Lengthening out bone by bone as you lay back down. Exhale, rising. Try to get the scapula off of the mat. Inhale, lower back. Exhale, circle, sweep. Legs straight as you can. Inhale, roll. Exhale, sweeping. Last 3. Inhale, bone by bone lays us down. Exhale, circle up. Inhale. Exhaling, last one. Inhale, arms overhead. Exhale, circle, sweep. Lay back down, bend your knees, circle the arms around your shins, give yourself a hug. So those muscles are those surface muscles, the rectus abdominis. Now we'll go into the sides of the belly, stabilizing muscles, the obliques. Switch the cross of your ankles, left over right, extend your legs into the sky. Take your hands into fists right beside your cheeks in a boxer type position. And then lift your head and shoulders off of the mat. This is an inhale. Exhale, reach your right arm past your left knee. Twist. Inhale, center. Keep your shoulders off the floor. Exhale, left. Inhale, center. So focus on the rotation. Moving to center on every inhale. Exhale, crossing. So as you extend with that punch past your leg, try to slide your elbow beyond the thigh each time. So you're getting more and more of the rotation through your belly. Only 3 more on each side. 2 more. Keep your face relaxed on those exhalations, legs straightening. Last one, right arm reaches, inhale center, left arm reaches, inhale center. Bend your knees, reach around the shins, and give yourself a little squeeze. Almost there. Last one. This time, legs straight, big toe mounds connected as you reach into the sky. If your low back is sensitive, you can keep your arms by your sides. If you're feeling strong today, fingertips at the base of the skull. Option 1, head and shoulders on the earth. Option 2, more intermediate, lift your head and shoulders off of the floor. So 5 leg lifts, nice and slow. We're going to pause here, exhale. Inhale, lower your legs for 3, 2, 1. Exhale, lifting. 3, 2, 1. 4 more. 3, lowering. 2, low back rounded. 1. Exhale. 3. No, that's inhale. 2, 1. Lowering slow. Exhale. 3. Reach through your toes. Inhale, lifting. 3, 2. Last 2. Exhale. 3. Try to keep the scapula off of the floor. Inhale. 3, 2. Last 1. Exhale, lowering for 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 3, 2, and 1. Bend your knees, reach around, and hug. A little side-to-side rocking will feel good for your low back. And then we're going to go ahead and set up a very supported bridge posture. So, you can go ahead and drop your feet down. If you have a yoga block, okay, we're going to be setting it on its highest position beneath our sacrum. But additional to the block, we're also going to be utilizing our belts. So the easiest way to set our belts is to measure the width of the hips by keeping your feet hip width. Let's go ahead and step in. Okay, so draw your strap up onto the thighs while keeping your feet separated the width of your hips. Okay, from here then, tighten your strap down so the legs are forced to remain the width of your hips. What we're going to want here is once we lift up in a bridge posture, we're going to relax to a degree the action of the legs, allowing them to fall open against the support of our strap, which will make it easier for us to open up the low back. So once you've got your strap set to the width of your hips, go ahead and scoot it a little bit closer down toward the backs of your knees. You have your block nearby so you can slide it underneath your hips easily. And with an inhalation, draw up, slide the block beneath your sacrum, and then check back in with the positioning of your feet. Okay, still separated the width of your hips, gently standing through the four corners. Let your hips and legs now soften, releasing the thigh bones out passively against your strap. Now, as you feel yourself anchoring the hips down into the block passively, we'll try it out on a little bit of that tuck of our tailbone. So feel the gluteal muscles reach forward gently into your knees as the lower belly falls down into the heart. Okay, for those of us using a block, you can interlace your fingers beneath you as you walk the shoulders in a little closer. If you're working with a bunch of books, they might get in the way a little bit, so you can always just press your palms flat into the mat. So now we've got ourselves set in a relatively comfortable, fairly passive posture. Draw all of the breath you can into your sacrum. Okay, if you're not familiar with what your sacrum is, it is a large inverted triangle at the back of your pelvis. So this is beneath your waistband, running down to your tailbone. Try to initiate every breath here. So you're filling out the top of the glutes. You're filling out the kidneys. And eventually, as that breath grows further and further, you'll start to feel the expansion radiating from the hips to the knees and the shoulders, the exhalations condensing back to center. Okay, your neck is relaxed. If the eyes are open, they're just softly gazing toward the ceiling. If they're shut, you can just look into the backs of your own eyelids. Breath in the low back, in the hips. Okay, just 3 more breath cycles. So really enjoy this opportunity to melt away fully. Okay, if your fingers are interlaced, go ahead and release them. Pushing down and forward through your heels. Inhale, lift your hips just a little bit. Draw your block out from underneath. Exhale, round your spine down. Okay, go ahead and undo your strap. And then keeping the feet planted upon the floor, open them just wider than your hips. Don't worry about that. Okay, once your feet are open wider than your hips, open the arms slightly at about 45 degrees. Keep your feet where they're planted. And with an exhale, drop both of the knees to the left. So this means your right knee will fall onto your left ankle. Okay, take a breath to soften the outer left side of the waist. So this is a little different than our supine twist. We're really focusing more on that release through the waist by the position of the feet. Inhale, push the navel into the earth, knees back to center. Feet are still wider than your hips. Keep your feet on the floor where they are, knees drop to the right. So now, your left knee hits your right ankle. Okay, the right hip, that pressure upon the earth might give you that little massaging pressure. So breathe into that feeling on the outside of the waist. And then with an inhale, bring both knees back up. Draw them in toward your chest, reach around, give yourself a little hug. And we'll take it through a vinyasa. So rocking to your shoulders with an inhale, roll over your feet, step back, either lowering through your flow or just lifting the hips into the sky. Okay, a quality breath in downward dog. Nakrasana, crocodile pose. So shifting into plank position, lower down, knees, chest, chin, or straight as a board to your belly. Okay, if you need to scoot back so you're on your mat, do so. And then we're going to take right hand over top of left to make a pillow. Right ear rests upon that pillow as you close your eyes. Big toes touching, heels apart. Breathing into your hips. So Nakrasana, crocodile pose, however passive it may be in this moment, is a proper posture in itself. And we're going to use this posture today to really bring a lot of consciousness down into the back of the hips and our lumbar spine, the low back region. Okay, in crocodile, without tensing the back of your waist, try to casually lengthen your tailbone out into your heels. Okay, if you find yourself restricted in this movement, a little rock side to side can help to unlock the front of the pelvis, which is going to draw forward toward your navel. Now, once you've got a sense of that tailbone anchoring away and the front of the hips gently moving toward your chest, slide your hands beneath your shoulders. Zip your legs up, heels and big toes connected, and then push down through your feet. Cobra. Roll your shoulders toward your ears, the ceiling, your hips, and with an inhale, lifting the torso off the floor, look at the earth just a few inches in front of your mat. We don't want to create any tension in the face or the neck, and for that matter, we don't want to feel like the head is what's lifting us. Instead, contracting the muscles of the back, initial lift, supportive lift, bring the belly into the heart. We're not pushing it down, we're trying to lift the tummy off of the floor for 3, 2, 1 more inhale, lift to your peak, and then lowering left hand atop right, left ear rests, let your heels fall away from each other, and breathe into that zone beneath the back of your ribs, down to the tip of your tail. So hips and low back, rise and fall with every breath. So now we'll get a bit more bendy. Cobra variation 2. Let your feet open the width of your hips. And then once more, lengthen down through your sacrum. Gently draw the front of the hips and the belly forward. Hands beneath shoulders. Grounded through your pelvis. Roll those shoulders toward your ears, the ceiling, your hips, lifting the torso up using the strength of the spine. Stage 1 Cobra. And then beginning to press into your palms to lift up even higher for stage 2 Cobra. As we start to push into the palms, 1, don't straighten those arms. They're going to stay bent, so your tricep muscles at the back of the arms are working. And then 2, don't clench your glutes. Keep that sacrum lengthening, reaching away so there's no tension. Okay, breathing up the front body as the navel presses toward the heart for 3. Guiding your elbows back toward your hips for 2. Last inhalation, eyes guided toward the heavens. And then falling forward, right hand atop left. Right ear rests. Breathe into your back body. Okay, all those muscles you just engaged, stretch them out on the inhales and let them sigh and soften on the exhale. Dhanurasana, bow, our last floor back bend. Bending both of the knees, reach back and catch your ankles from the outside. So the knee is approximately hip width, but the big toes can draw a little bit closer. One day they might even touch. Let your hips sink, and then with an exhale, kick back. Stretch those toes on up into the heavens, lifting not only your toes, but your eyes forward, your eyes maybe even up for 3. Deep, deep breathings. Fill yourself out. Last inhale, ride that breath to your peak, and releasing. Okay, we're down to left side again, so left hand over top, left ear rests. Breathe into your back body. Okay, make sure those inhalations are really rising up toward the ceiling. And then child's pose. Hands beneath shoulders with an inhale. Push back, hips to heels. The closer your knees are together, the more the hips need to be open and the healthier the knees need to be. So if you're feeling pressure in your knees or the fronts of your hip sockets, give yourself some space by widening apart. If, on the other hand, your hips and knees are healthy enough to allow you to keep them together, then amp up your inhalations and try to push the breath into your back. Okay, the thighs will benefit you in this way because they're going to resist your breath. So if you're inhaling deep enough, it's got to go somewhere. Kidneys rising, backs of the lungs rising. All right, and we'll start to close things up. So shifting forward into a tabletop position. From your tabletop, straightening the legs into plank, you can lift to dog or flow to wipe your slate clean. And sweeping the right leg up into the sky, bend your right knee as you roll your hips open, step outside of your right hand for lizard. Dropping your left knee upon the floor, stretch your heart forward, and then with your exhalation, lower your elbows down to a block or down to the earth, keeping your spine relatively long. So we're going to feel the inner edge of the right foot today, standing upon the mat to keep the knee and the thigh close. Okay, now that we've got ourselves situated, without moving your torso anywhere, just let your hips swing a little bit from side to side. And as you do, filter your breath down into the hips. Notice those meridians or those lines of resistance. You let that swaying movement grow subtler, grow more still. And then 3 more exhales, melt the heart toward the earth. Good. Begin building your way back up to tall, straightening the arms. Walk the right leg inside of the shoulder line, 1 or 2 steps. Tuck the toes of your left foot. And with an inhale, half monkey. Pull your hips back as the right leg straightens, melting over the hamstrings. Drop your gaze to the knee. Only 3 exhales. Melting and softening, but at the same time, diving a little deeper. Switching sides. Rock forward to step back either into your flow or hips into the heavens. Left side now. Stepping outside of your left wrist, drop the back knee down onto the mat. The heart opens, the collarbones widen first, then lowering to block or to earth. So now that we're there, wherever there might be, swing your hips a little side to side. Notice where you feel restricted. And then, wherever it is that you need the most attention, grow more still and breathe into those sticky spots. And the heart falls as the crown just casually lengthens forward. Last exhalation here before building back up to straighten arms. And walk that left leg inside the shoulder line as we move into Ardha Hanumanasana. Hips back, left leg straight, melting in. 3 long exhales. So softening and changing, but trying to dive in just a little deeper. And change. Rocking forward, step back into your flow or hips into the heavens. Excellent. So right leg lifting up into the sky. Sweeping up for pigeon, step that knee behind your right wrist and begin to slide your left leg back. 1 breath at tall, draw out of the front body, and then lowering down to stacked fists, stacked palms. You can use your block as a pillow, possibly. And remember your modifications. If this does not feel great on the right knee, you can place some cushions beneath the right hip. But if it is still uncomfortable, flip over onto your back to practice thread the needle. So it's quite a bit easier to breathe at the top of your chest in this pose than it is to breathe at the bottom of your lungs. But of course, you can probably figure out which we're supposed to do. So generate your inhalations from as low down as possible. And if you don't want to, or if you find some mental resistance to this, acknowledge that. Try to figure out why. Good. Last exhalation. Take your hands beneath your shoulders, round your spine up to tall. revolving head to knee, fall into your right hip as you face the side of your mat. Pull your right heel into your groin and point your left toes up into the sky. So left elbow rests upon your thighs. You lift your right arm right up into the heavens, twisting the right body back. As you exhale, you can begin sliding your arm a little further down the leg, maybe dropping the elbow down to the floor, or one day grabbing a hold of your feet. So as you fold your torso over your straightened left leg, you're going to feel that stretch through the inner hamstring, maybe inner calf. But you're also going to feel a lot of opening through the right side of the belly. So make sure you're breathing deeply enough. Don't just compromise your inhale, because it kind of sucks a little bit to breathe into that stretch. Eyes down. Inhale, right arm pulls you up. Turn to face the back of the mat so you're in traditional head to knee pose. Okay, the right foot stands against the inseam of your left leg. Rise on up, arms overhead. Find your foot, your belt, or your shin. Re-lengthening your spine. Pull your left waist back just a little, and then heart over the knee. The head is heavy, and the breath extends down the forward limb. Okay, breathe out into the spaces between your toes, and try to feel each and every one of those toes lengthening, growing into the sky above. Last exhale. Ride your inhalation up, arms overhead. Releasing the arms, kick your right leg straight. So chances are you're probably facing the back of your mat. We're just going to go through our vinyasa. Cross your shins, roll over your feet, step back, and we'll do everything on the other side to make our way back to center. Okay, drawing the left leg up into the heavens. Inhale, bend the knee. Exhale, sweep it up behind your wrist. Sliding the right leg back, take one breath to get tall, and then melting forward. Okay, stacking up the hands, find a block or a cushion, and then breathe from your hips. The most complete inhalation you can cultivate. Ever so subtly, our left hip is moving down and left, but just as much the right hip rolling forward. So both sides of the pelvis are equally sinking into the floor. Last exhalation. Bring your hands beneath your shoulders to round your spine up, falling into your left hip, face the side of your mat. Left heel pulls into the groin, right toes point up into the sky as we practice the opposite side of revolving head to knee. Lift your left arm high with the inhalation and then turning the palm toward the earth as the shoulder sinks, arch to the side. Left belly, left back stretching, right leg. Remember, your right elbow can drop to the earth or both hands can reach for the extended foot, but you should always be able to see the ceiling underneath your left arm in this position. One more exhale, twist the belly to the left, look down, and then inhale, pull yourself up, turn your left hip to face the front of your mat for head to knee pose. So your two thighs are at about a 90-degree angle. Rise and fold. Once you grab a hold, re-lengthen, inhale, and then let yourself settle. The eyes looking toward the right shin as you stretch your heart out further and further beyond the knee. 2 feet gently pressing away from center. Last 2 breaths. And then rising up, push through your hips to lift your arms overhead. Release the arms, straighten your left leg. Okay, this is our last vinyasa. Crossing the shins, roll over to step or hop your way back. Knees, chest, chin through inchworm or chaturanga. Cobra or upward dog. Lift that crown up high. Downward facing. All right. Shifting to our backs. Take the weight into the hands. Step or lightly hop to sit. Roll down onto your spine and hug the knees in close. A little happy baby. Opening your knees wider than your ribs. Point your feet toward the ceiling. Now, if you cannot grab a hold of the outer edges of your feet in this position, then you can always grab for your ankles or the backs of your knees. But we want to try to keep our shin bones vertical, heel atop knees. Now let your shoulders slide down away from your ears. Keep your head on the floor and then engage those arms. Pull down on your feet and breathe into the hips. So the opening can vary. This might be at the top of your hip creases. It might be on the undersides of the thighs. Irrespective where the sensation exists, take your time to breathe through it, to soften and smile as every exhalation creates that opportunity for the connective tissue to slacken. Okay, 2 more exhalations. Pull down just a little bit more. And then crossing over. We'll take right thigh atop the left in eagle. Open your arms out at shoulder height, dropping both of your knees to the left side of your mat. Take a moment now to lift your hips and tuck your left hip a whole inch underneath. Then drop back down. Looking out over your right shoulder, then check in with the expansion of your upper body. So Amber's upper body here is really well connected from shoulder to shoulder. But for a lot of us, especially if there's any tension, we may find it difficult to get the right body grounding. If that's the case, just stretch your left arm out of the body a little bit further, and this can help you to open the upper back, which will also help you to twist a little bit more through the spine. Okay, 2 more exhales, using the tummy to guide the breath into the back. And as you come to the conclusion of that last exhale, bring your head to center. The inhale will lift your knees up. Uncross your legs, reach around your shins. You're going to have to swing your hips back into center. And then left thigh over top. Open the arms at shoulder height. Drop your knees to the right side. And then lift your hip. Tuck under right beneath just slightly. Looking over your left shoulder. Soften your face as you breathe into your back. Feeling that left hip release. And every inhale spreads in every direction. Up, down, left, right, forward and back. Feeling the whole expanse of your torso grow and shrink. Two more exhalations. As you come to the end of that last breath, head returns to center. Inhale, lift your knees. Uncross your legs, bring your hips back to center as you hug. And then begin to stretch your legs out long upon the floor. So once you open your feet out to about the width of your hips, if not a little wider, then rock your hips from side to side a little. It may even benefit you to lengthen your tailbone down, bringing a little more space into the low back. Okay, the palms of the hands are, of course, in an upward facing position, so as to help us guide the shoulder blades down away from the ears just a little bit more. Okay, lastly, check in with your cervical spine. So bring your chin just a millimeter closer to your chest, expanding the back of your neck. Okay, as we start to relax here and the muscles loosen, your spine is going to lengthen a little bit. So if you didn't make that little adjustment with your chin, you might start to feel jammed up in your cervical spine by the end of the pose. Relax your jaw and the roof of your mouth. Soften the backs of your eyes. Let your sinuses open. Okay, we should be able to feel the breath easily flowing in and out. Now, at the front of the brain, behind your brow, try to imagine that you could soften everything within this region. So the whole of your skull, everything within, sinks into the floor beneath, just emptying you out totally. And notice your breath. You may or may not be controlling the breath at this point. If you are, now it's finally time to let go. Okay, trust that your body will breathe for you while you simply remain as a passive witness, watching the rise and fall. As we inhale, the navel lifts toward the heavens, and when we exhale, it drops back into the spine. Okay, breathing in a natural way, the way a baby would. Now, as you tether yourself to this rise and fall movement, inevitably something will distract you. Okay, some thought will float up to the surface of your mind. Some sound will disturb your concentration. And it's what we do in these moments that really defines our practice. Okay, every distraction is either an opportunity to become frustrated and impatient, or to smile, to reconnect, and to begin again. And of course, it's the latter that we prefer. Every single distraction we encounter is in all reality just a reminder to check back in, to get reconnected with that most authentic you that resides beneath the mind with all its thoughts, beneath the body with all its sensations. So breath after breath and distraction after distraction. Smile. Take that step back and return to watching, observing as a witness. So, beginning first by just deepening your inhalations, bringing your consciousness back into your body. As you start to feel more connected, wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, and notice those nervous impulses from the brain radiating out into the arms and the legs. Inching your legs together, bringing the arms up overhead. Point your toes, and with an inhale, stretch yourself long from end to end, and then soften. Bring those knees in toward your chest, reach around, give yourself a hug, and then rolling onto your left side, begin to push your way up into a comfortable seated posture. So arriving at tall, crown of the head lifted, letting the eyes softly shut as you bring the palms of your hands together at heart center. Okay, looking within, find first a gratitude for yourself. Feeling thankful for your practice and all the benefit that you gain from it when you return to your mat day after day. And then, honoring your fellow students, wherever they may be, connecting to us now, feeling thankful for their support. As always, I'm honored that you would share your practices with me. Namaste.